Most people don't realize this, but the comments that hurt you the most weren't even about you. They were about control, about insecurity, about someone needing to feel tall, so they pushed you down an inch. And if you've ever walked away from a conversation thinking, I should have said something, I should have stood up for myself, why did I go quiet? Trust me, you're not alone. Belittling comments don't just sting your feelings, they freeze your voice. And today, I want to help you get that voice back, stronger, calmer, and smarter than before. Because the smartest response is never loud. It's never emotional. It's never desperate. It's controlled. It's confident. It's clear. It's clear. When you learn how to deliver that kind of response, people stop trying to belittle you. Because it simply doesn't work anymore. When someone attacks you with a belittling comment, they're not looking for truth. They're looking for a reaction. They want you to be defensive. They want you to argue. They want you to snap, shut down, or shrink. Because your reaction gives them something: power, attention, validation. The smartest people don't give them any of that. You know what they give instead? A pause, a calm breath. A moment of silence that says, I heard you. I'm just deciding whether you deserve my energy. That pause is everything. It protects you from saying something you regret. It protects your dignity. And it sends a quiet message that rattles them more than shouting ever could. Because when someone tries to make you feel small and you don't flinch, they realize they miscalculated. When someone hits you with a belittling comment, the worst thing you can do is turn the moment into a personal attack. Calling out the person directly, saying things like, you're rude, you always do this, or what's wrong with you, shifts the entire conversation into a battlefield of egos. It turns them defensive, it escalates the tone, and it transforms what could have been a simple correction into a full-blown argument. The smarter approach, the more effective approach, is to call out the comment itself, not the person behind it. Because the moment you shift from labeling them to labeling the behavior, you take control of the conversation without igniting a war. Calling out the comment keeps the focus where it belongs. Instead of attacking character, you address the impact. It's subtle, but it's powerful. You're not saying, you're disrespectful, which invites a fight. You're saying, that comment felt disrespectful, which invites awareness. It's a completely different energy. One triggers defense, the other encourages accountability. And accountability is what you want if your goal is to shut down belittling behavior. People can argue about intentions all day. I didn't mean it. It was a joke. You're too sensitive. But they cannot argue with the impact you felt. When you describe the comment instead of attacking the person, you strip them of their escape routes. You remove the loopholes. You take away their ability to twist the conversation back onto you. You keep the spotlight exactly where it needs to be. Calling out the comment also sets a firm boundary without making you look emotional or combative. It shows that you can hold someone accountable without losing your cool. That's rare. Most people either explode or stay silent, but the real strength is standing in the middle, calm, clear, and direct. You don't shrink. You don't lash out. You simply speak to the moment with precision, and precision is what gives your voice authority. When you say something like, that comment didn't sit right with me, you're holding your ground without throwing punches. When you say, I don't appreciate that kind of joke, you're signaling a limit without attacking their identity. When you say, I'm not okay with that kind of remark, you're drawing a clear line in the sand without provoking their ego. This is how you stay respected. This is how you stay in control. This is how you communicate like someone who knows their worth. Another reason calling out the comment works so well is because it exposes disrespect in a way the other person cannot easily disguise. Belittling people love to hide behind tone, humor, sarcasm, or I was just kidding. They want plausible deniability. They want to be able to hurt you while pretending it's harmless. But when you shine a light directly on the comment, you take that camouflage away. You force them to face what they said. You make the invisible visible. And here's the twist: when you call out the comment, you give them an opportunity to course correct. You give them a chance to step back, adjust, and show maturity, if they're capable of it. You give them space to fix the moment without losing face. That's something people appreciate, even if they don't say it. Most people don't want to feel attacked. But many people are willing to rethink their words if the conversation feels safe enough for them to do so. Calling out the comment also reinforces your self-respect. It shows that you're not afraid to address things directly. It proves that you don't let disrespect slide. You're not passive, but you're not aggressive either. You're assertive. And assertiveness is the middle ground where true power lies. It's the tone of someone who values their peace but isn't willing to sacrifice their standards to keep it. And here's something most people don't realize: calling out the person rarely stops the behavior, but calling out the behavior often does. Because behavior can be changed. People may not want to feel blamed, but they do respond to clarity. They respond to firm boundaries. They respond to calm truth. When you isolate the comment and address it head on, you create a moment that demands self-awareness, and self-awareness is the beginning of behavior change. Most importantly, calling out the comment keeps you aligned with who you want to be. You're not stooping to anyone's level. You're not trading shots. You're not trying to win with volume or attitude. You're speaking with intention, discipline, and self-control. You're staying rooted, not reactive. And when you handle disrespect with that level of clarity, you don't just shut the moment down, you elevate yourself.
Setting a boundary without raising your voice is one of the strongest communication skills you can ever learn. Most people think boundaries require loudness, intensity, or force, but that's not true at all. A real boundary doesn't need volume. It needs clarity. It needs calm. It needs you rooted in who you are instead of reacting to who they are being. When you can look someone in the eye and express your limit without your tone rising, you show a level of emotional maturity that's rare. You show you're not trying to dominate the moment, you're simply protecting your space. A raised voice is usually a sign of losing control, not gaining it. People yell when they feel unheard, threatened, cornered, or desperate. But boundaries aren't about desperation, they're about direction. They aren't about overpowering someone. They're about respecting yourself enough to communicate your needs without compromising your dignity. When you stay calm, your words land differently. They sink in. They hit with more weight because they're not tangled in emotional chaos. They're clean, they're firm, they're steady. Speaking calmly while setting a boundary also removes the other person's excuses. If you yell, they focus on your volume. If you stay calm, they have to focus on your words. Yelling gives people an escape. They can blame your tone, accuse you of overreacting, or shift the conversation onto your delivery. But calmness removes that escape. It forces the conversation to stay on the actual issue. It keeps the spotlight exactly where it belongs, on the behavior that crossed the line. A quiet, steady boundary is also harder to argue with. When you don't raise your voice, you don't fuel their defensiveness. You're not escalating, you're not competing, you're not provoking their ego. You're simply stating what is or isn't acceptable. That simplicity disarms people. It pulls the heat out of the moment. It makes the conversation less about who's winning and more about what needs to change. A calm boundary can feel like a mirror, because instead of reacting to them, you make them reflect on themselves. And let's be honest, many people use volume as a test. They push, poke, provoke, or disrespect you to see how far they can go before you snap. If you explode, they learn how to control your emotions. If you shut down, they learn they can walk over you. But if you stay calm and set a boundary firmly, they learn something else entirely. They learn that you're not easily moved. They learn that your standards don't depend on your mood. They learn that you can handle conflict without losing yourself inside it. Setting a quiet boundary is also about protecting your inner environment. When you raise your voice, you elevate your stress. Your heart rate spikes, your breathing changes, your thoughts get foggy, and you start speaking from emotion instead of intention. But calmness keeps your internal space clean. It keeps you anchored. It keeps your mind sharp. You become the stable one in the room, and the stable one always has the most influence. And the truth is this: your tone teaches people how seriously to take your words. When you raise your voice, it may sound dramatic, but when you speak softly, people lean in. They listen. Your calmness creates gravity. Your words pull attention without forcing it. A calm boundary has a way of cutting deeper because it's not wrapped in noise. It's simple, it's direct, it's unmistakable. Calm boundaries also protect your self-respect. When you don't raise your voice, you're choosing control over chaos. You're choosing self-respect. respect over reaction. You're choosing clarity over conflict. It shows that your standards are not up for negotiation, even when your emotions try to pull you in another direction. You show yourself that you can handle uncomfortable moments without losing your composure, and that builds confidence over time. Your mind starts to trust you. Your emotions start to follow your lead instead of dragging you around. It's also important to understand that people listen differently when they're not being attacked. A calm tone communicates safety even when the message is firm. It says, "I'm not here to fight. I'm here to be clear." And clarity is what creates change. Clarity is what shapes behavior. Clarity is what teaches people what you will and won't allow. Setting a boundary without raising your voice also teaches something powerful. You don't need intensity to be taken seriously. You just need certainty. You don't need anger to communicate importance. You need self-control. You don't need to shout to be heard. You need to believe in your own words. Quiet confidence is more convincing than loud insecurity every single time. And maybe the most important part, a boundary set calmly is a boundary you're more likely to follow through on. When you raise your voice, you react. When you stay calm, you act. Calmness means your boundary is coming from strength, not emotion, from intention, not impulse. And boundaries rooted in strength are the ones that hold. Using curiosity to disarm an insult is one of the most unexpected and effective ways to take the power out of someone's words. Most people don't expect curiosity in moments of tension. They expect defensiveness, anger, or a counterattack. When you respond with curiosity instead of emotion, you instantly flip the dynamic. You stop the momentum of the insult and shift the weight of the conversation back onto the person who threw it. Curiosity exposes intention. It reveals whether the comment was carelessness, insecurity, ignorance, or an attempt at control. And the moment someone has to explain themselves, their insult loses its bite. Curiosity is powerful because it forces people to slow down. Instead of reacting emotionally, you ask questions that make them think. What makes you say that? Help me understand what you mean by that. Is there a reason you felt the need to say it that way? These questions are calm, direct, and grounded. They don't escalate. They don't attack. They simply shine a spotlight on the behavior, and insults don't survive in the light. They rely on shock, speed, and emotional reaction. Curiosity removes all three. When you stay curious, you also protect your emotional space. Insults are meant to hook you. They're bait for your insecurities. They're designed to make you react from a wounded place rather than a wise one. But curiosity creates a gap between the moment and your reaction. You step back, you observe. Instead of "how dare they say that to me," your mind shifts to "why would they say that at all?" That shift moves you from emotional response to analytical response. It puts your brain back in charge instead of your ego. Curiosity is also a quiet form of strength. It communicates that you're not intimidated, you're not rattled, and you're not threatened. You're simply trying to understand. Most people who dish out insults expect the other person to crumble or explode. They want to trigger you because your emotional reaction gives them control of the moment. But when you respond with curiosity, you take their control away. You show that you decide how the conversation goes, not their insecurities, not their tone, and not their disrespect. Asking curious questions also forces the insulter to self-reflect, even if they don't want to. If the comment came from insecurity, curiosity exposes it. If it came from jealousy, curiosity reveals it. If it came from immaturity,